what was your political aha moment? What inspired you to get into politics, and why is the political conscience important for us in this country and just abroad?
Peace, and thanks for the question. And let me say peace to the Black News 102 Sonnet TV studio family. I'm always honored to speak with you. If I had to put a finger on when I became politically active, I've always been interested in political struggle, political dialogue, political discourse. But I really became active during the Dinkins administration. I actually worked on his campaign as a very young person. I mean, I was in high school and was on the floor where he became New York's first black mayor. So that was part of what led me to think more about politics at a very young age. But I think that it's hard not to be a historian and not to be interested in politics, because when you look at sort of the arcs of human history, you begin to recognize some of them in the current day, and so you have to be involved with how you're going to try to make sure that the masses of people move in certain directions that will benefit them all. And that's not something that has happened very often in our modern political discourse, unfortunately. I really do believe, and I know that there'll certainly be things that Kingface and I will agree on. I would assume that there would be. I mean, we're both black men living in New York, so there's going to be some things we're going to agree on, and there's going to be some things we disagree on. And we should talk about both, because ultimately, regardless of who was in the White House, we're both black men living in New York, and there's going to be some things that we're going to both face. So I think that we have to have that kind of dialogue. It is powerful for us to discuss what is best for us, because I think that a lot of times we don't have those kinds of discussions. And if we don't really focus in on what we should do, even in our local environment, then how do we then purport to discuss things that affect the entire nation, right? Clearly, the situation that's occurring in LA is important to me, but it's not as meaningful in many ways to what's happening for me in Harlem, right? And so those are all things that we need to discuss, and I really think that that's of critical importance. Now, as a historian, I'm going to say to you that some of the folklore around the parties is misinformed, maladapted for our current understanding. We should talk a little bit about that.
Well, now that you real quick, can you there is some folklore around both parties, right? And from a historical, and then I want you to speak to that. Then I want our beloved brother Kingface to talk about his rebuttal to that. But what do you think some of the main folklore around Democrats, Republicans that keep coming up, especially around our people? What keeps coming up in the mainstream around the historical context of Republicans and Democrats?
Sure. I think that you'll hear in this particular point in our discourse, you'll hear about sort of the origins of the Democratic Party. Some folks who are in the Republican Party will say that the Democratic Party did some things that were dastardly to black people. And I'm going to say to you that what would you? So they'll sometimes and I heard him say, it might have been off camera. He said that the Democrats, that the KKK really was founded by the Democratic Party. You'll hear that.
Is that true?
No. It is true, however, that both parties in many periods of time were really implements of white power. Both parties. And in some instances, they both are still. Right? And so what we have to do is we have to now say, well, there are times that either party has done things that were not in our interests. We have to be clear about what our interests are. And I think that black voters are pragmatic voters, much more than they're given credit. For example, if you even just look at when Barack Obama was running for president, in the very beginning of that race, he had very few black supporters. And when you would ask African Americans why they didn't support Barack Obama, what would they say? Well, I don't think he can win. So it had nothing to do with whether they thought he was a good person or his policies were good. They were like, we want to actually do something that's going to push this country forward, and we're going to try to put our votes in the basket that's closer to our interest that we think can get actually accomplished. And so it wasn't until, let me say this too, it wasn't until he won Iowa that he got black support. They said, wait, if he can win in Iowa, then maybe we should support him. So black voters are rapidly critical of the system.
You say that's good? That's good.
I think in some ways that's a good thing. I think sometimes they say, well, why are most black folks Democrats, right? Is that because they actually have put all their eggs in one basket and they're not looking to spread their votes in other areas so that they're able to maximize the most political benefit? But the reality is recently, well, the problem is most recently the Republican Party has done many things that are absolutely rabidly racist against black interest, and I could go down a list. I want to get through this first, and I also want to make sure that you understand that most often when you see individuals that are part of a white power structure, avowed white supremacists, most often they even see their interest in the Republican Party.
Right.
I'm talking about what's happened over the course of the last few decades.
Right. Okay.
Right? I'm not talking about the early. Listen, Kingface is going to talk about the fact that Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. Okay. Right? The person that freed the slaves, even though that's not really what happened. That's a fact. That most early black statesmen were Republicans. That's a fact as well. Those are true. The Republican Party and the Democratic Party greatly switched places during the Civil Rights era. That is true. And so, well, you could just look at the statistics. I could read statistics if you like. So, and I'm talking about in terms of policies. I'm talking about in terms of issues. When Johnson signed the Civil Rights Bill, he said that they would probably the Democrats would lose the South for at least 2 generations. He was right. He was right. Because he knew that there were people who did not see their interests aligned with black people and that they were Democrats, right? But when the Civil Rights Bill was signed, he realized that they would jump ship. And that's exactly what they did. Wow. And so the Democratic Party today and the Republican Party today are very different than they were 150 years ago. And I think we need to just acknowledge that as well.
So, no, I want to acknowledge that, but I want to ask Kingface, so the points that Jabari's bringing up, he mentioned about the folklore, about the historical context. What do you speak towards that in your research and your knowledge?
I mean, just off of common sense, you could tell that the Democratic Party never cared about black people and the party never switched. You know what I mean? That's just the way. If you look at everything they're doing now, they're not talking about black people. They're talking about illegal immigrants that's coming here just so they can get votes. They're not talking about what we're going to do for the black community. They're talking about what they're going to do for people that don't belong here. Even when you look at the Democratic debate, when did they mention the black community? Not once. They said nothing about the black community. They said nothing.
You watched the debate?
Yeah, I watched it. They said nothing.
I don't think you watched the debate.
Bro, they didn't say anything.
Let the brother speak.
You know,
wait, he was interjecting, I'm interjecting.
No, that's fine. You know what I'm saying?
It's a soft interjection.
No, it's fine. But what I'm saying is, what their focus was on was more illegal immigration. I didn't hear them talking to the black community. I heard them speaking Spanish. You understand what I'm saying? For people that are crossing the borders. This is what was happening. So what I never heard them talk about no plans, what they're going to do for the black community, what they're going to do to help build it. I didn't hear none of these things. Because you don't hear nothing when it comes to that. They don't talk about policies. They talk about personality. They talk about things that don't matter. They talk about identity politics. That's what they focus more on. Is, if you're gay, or if you're this, or if you're that.
You didn't hear any tangibles.
I didn't hear nothing that really showed me that they was really trying to do anything for the black community. Where's the proof of that? He can say whatever he wants because he's a historian, so he's gonna have that notion like, okay, yeah, this is what it is. But where is the proof? Black people have been voting for Democrats for decades and got nothing. Education went down, work went down, everything went down.
I have a question, Kingface. So, in the last 4 years, I see you wearing your MAGA, right? Your blue MAGA. In the last 4 years, what stood out politically that our president has done tangibly to position black people in this country to be much more successful? And then, based upon that, do you feel the next 4 years will be building on that legacy? Good question.
Most definitely. I mean, you got the lowest black unemployment. You created a lot of jobs. You know what I'm saying? Like over 6 million jobs has been created. Millions of blacks have been taken off of food stamps. So that means they're learning to be self-sufficient. And this is what.
No, this one.
These are facts. You should know. You do a lot of Googling. I see you got the whole tab here. You know what I'm saying? But this is a fact. I mean, we you could argue it. You might bring up the fact of, oh well, Obama did this back in the day, and it's coming into an effect today. Well, even if Obama did, the fact that he's continuing to practice already shows his intentions. Okay. So let's say if Obama did come up with some policies, some way, somehow, the fact that he's continuing that and continuing that the decrease in poverty when it comes to jobs, when it comes to a lot of things, you got to look at that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But if you look at the policies, he created policies. He's the only one I see that's actually showing people that he's signing policies.
Which policies?
Whatever policy, any policies he's ever done, you notice that he does it publicly. Why do you think he does that? So you can hold him accountable. Anytime Obama might have did something, he put it on the low, so you can't hold him accountable. But he could easily say, well, I did this. But if you don't know about it, then we can't pressure you to make sure it happens.
So Kingface, you spoke about President Trump helped to position us with more jobs. You spoke about transitioning us out of support of WIC, right, government assistance. So my question is, are you lobbying for our people to support him in this next election? One. And after his term, do you feel that we should be active in the Republican Party post his finality in office? And what would that legacy of us actually maintaining in a Republican position benefit us?
Well, I'm not trying to lobby for anybody to be president. I just want people to find out the truth. Most importantly, if you feel Donald Trump is the truth for you, then do that. For me, I feel like he's the truth. I think he brought a different spirit when he became president, the pride in being American. You know what I'm saying? Just that whole entrepreneurship mentality. I think these things are important, even with the whole winning mentality, which is very important for our people, because we've always been thinking like a loser. You know, we've always been thinking because of the color of our skin that we can't do something, or because of where we're from we can't do something. So I always like that mentality of winning. So even if, forget the policies, forget all that, the fact that he's talking positively and speaking in a higher frequency, that's what I like. That's what we need more of. We don't need no more of the Obama and the crying and the whole, officers are trying to kill us, which is the least of our problems in our community, but we make it seem like it's the biggest thing. You understand what I'm saying? Like, these are the type of things to me that I noticed that the Democratic Party focus on. They focus on the things that don't matter, like police brutality. What's police brutality? You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, if we have respect, that's the end of police brutality. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, if we have respect. Authority, period. Just like if you have the respect for the same way you have the respect. Listen, I know firsthand because I'm from the hood. I be in the streets all day. You know what I'm saying? You a scholar, you went to school.
You walked in.
No, that's but
where you walked in.
But at the end, just because you live there don't mean you're engulfed in the actual surroundings of it. You understand what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that live in the hood but aren't engulfed in what's going on in the hood. Of course. You know what I'm saying? If you go to Crown Heights in Brooklyn, you see white people, they jogging and they're not engulfed in what's going on in the crime or the drugs and none of that. So just because you live somewhere doesn't necessarily mean that you're a part of what's going on. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that was raised in the hood, you know what I'm saying, and didn't turn blood or Crip or none of that. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't really equate. So when you look at respect in our community, which is one of the main things we don't have, whether it's for each other, whether it's for authority, and if you look, when you look at the policies that's been done in the sense of no longer parents can't even be parents to their kids. You can't even discipline them without worrying about the police being called and you losing your rights to your kid. Right? Can you even discipline your child nowadays? Oh, no, yeah. You cannot even discipline your child. So what if they don't even respect or have respect for their parents or respect the authority of their parents? What make you think they're gonna respect the authority of police?
Wow. Let me.
I really hope you're letting me speak.
No, you are. Yeah, I know. I want to thank King for his perspective, because I think he brought up some good points for you to build on. But I want the viewers and all of us to be objective with our brothers. I think that we can catch a build in a debate and be objective and understand each other's perspective, because I think that the thing that the King is talking about is gonna spark some consciousness, and Jabari is also gonna spark some consciousness too. So, Brother Jabari, well, you heard points that he was bringing up, so I want you to talk specifically not only some of the points that sparked your awareness to rebuttal, but do you think Okay, what pros and cons does President Trump play? In politics for us, as far as our people go, right? And do you see any benefit of him winning? How would that help our legacy going forward in this country being productive? And then you can also answer some of the things that came out to you.
One of the most important things that anyone needs to do within the next year and a half is remove Donald Trump from office.
And why?
It's one of the most important things that almost any community can do. He has actually destroyed our relationships abroad. He has catered to a very extreme right racist fringe in our country, and in fact, in some ways, because he spouts what they say regularly. Just remember what he said when the alt-right, let's call them neo-Nazis, what they really are, were marching. He says there were good people on both sides. He said there are very fine people on both sides. So I want you to understand that that's what he said. But we're not just talking about what happened while he was president. I don't know how old Kingface is. I don't know whether he's been paying attention. I don't know if he's been paying attention very long. But you should understand that the first developer in the nation to be under consent decree for discriminatory practices was the Trump Organization.
There was a whole bunch of
and so you need to understand. Are you going to let me speak or no? Okay, so let's be respectful for a minute, okay? Okay, so let's be clear that we know very well through several exposés in the Washington Post and the New York Times that even before Trump was well known, his organization. You want me to give you a pen? I can give you a pen pad.
That's fine. We can type it.
Okay. Even before he was well known, the organization was actually taking applications and putting a C on top of applications submitted by black people. C for colored. Wow. And so those folks were not getting admission into his father's development. His father, who was arrested at a Klan rally. So you need to understand that there's a long history, and it's not new. And he said, I'm going to bring in the Central Park Five. How could I not? We know that Donald Trump actually took out full-page ads calling for the death penalty for 5 young black men who had not been tried. He had not been tried, right? And even after they were acquitted, he still said that they were guilty. This is the kind of person he is. We know that he looks at black countries and he calls them S-hole countries. You know what the S stands for, family. You know that that's what he said. We know very well that when he looks at representatives that come from communities of color, many of whom were born in the United States, he tells them they should go back to where they belong. He is known to have said, why is it we're not getting immigration from nice white areas? In fact, one of the things that you might have missed, yes, he did. One of the things that you might have missed in the impeachment inquiry that occurred last week is that Gordon Sondland, one of the things he was sent to do is he was sent to look to get more immigration from European countries. That was one of the things on his portfolio that he received from Donald Trump. And so you need to understand that Donald Trump has a very long record of disturbing behavior in our community. And in addition to that, in addition to all of that, people will cite a black unemployment rate. Donald Trump has nothing to do with a black unemployment rate.
Can you speak to that?
Let's be really clear that, and I'm going to say something that might surprise most people. Presidents don't have a lot to do with the unemployment rate.
What has it lot to do with that?
There are a lot. There's an entire interest by large employers in hiring in certain areas that they think will be feasible for them. And when that happens, and they think that they'll be able to move into certain markets, they hire people. I'm not saying the president is irrelevant, But certainly we wouldn't expect that a president would be in office and a year later there would be a change in an unemployment rate. If that's what you believe, the unemployment rate was dropping during Obama. Well, if you look at it on a graph, the decline is just simply continuing. And that is primarily happening because the country actually is still in some ways recovering from a very, very painful economic downturn that occurred in 2009 and 2010. So that's why that's happening. Okay. But what can we say about Trump and his interest in workers? He actually signed a tax bill. And that tax bill lowers taxes immediately on everyone. But all of the tax benefits that are seen by working class and middle class people, those all taper off. While all of the tax benefits to large corporations and to the wealthy are permanent. And so we know that he has done many things while he's been in office. None of them have been on behavior that have helped black people. The only thing, I'll give you this, the only thing that I can possibly say that he has done that has been somewhat helpful is that he supported a bipartisan movement to change some of the mandatory minimum laws around incarceration. That's the one thing, because while I have extreme disdain for Donald Trump, I can still be a tacit analyst. And so I can say that was something that he did that I thought was beneficial. Right. He's done very little else that has been very beneficial for anyone other than the most wealthy people in this country. He spent more time on golf courses than anyone, even though he critiqued Obama for it. He said absolutely rabidly racist things about everyone who isn't white.
Name one thing.
Name one. He called black countries S-hole countries. And he also, whenever he talks about, why don't you pull up the quote? And so then whenever, okay. So, and then whenever, you know, one of the ways that you can tell when someone is losing is you can see how they're jumping.
I'm not battling you.
So you need to understand that there's a lot we should be concerned about.
So my question to you, brother, is if you had to ask your brother a question based upon where we are now, as far as the Republicans' contribution for us, what would you want to pose to him? You know, ask him a question.
I don't think that the Republican Party is going to do anything that benefits black people right now. The one thing that there perhaps may be some movement in, perhaps, is infrastructure. Because I truly believe that if infrastructure is improved in large areas of this country, including in New York, the New York-New Jersey corridor, it will mean that it'll improve the sorts of jobs that you can see that occur. And we know that in most black communities, we have a major issue with gentrification, a major issue. Right. And that tends to mean that black folks are moving further and further away from their jobs. And so we are really feeling the brunt of some of the crumbling infrastructure that is occurring in this nation. And I do believe that both Republicans and Democrats might be interested in making some movements in that area. Okay. Yeah. I think that we should be concerned that Donald Trump said that they're not going to get infrastructure or nothing because they are investigating him over his actions over Ukraine. He did say that. And so that's one of the reasons why he's not moving forward there. We have a lot to do. So I want to ask my brother why he thinks that police brutality is irrelevant and about black people respecting police. That's he said that.
It's not what I said. I said respect.
Family, you could go back. You could go back. He said if they can't respect their families, how can they respect the police? I thought we were talking about us though.
No, us is Americans. I'm an American.
Okay.
So you could be.
I'm also a citizen of the United States. But the question is, what kind of citizen are you? Okay. Our interests are different based on what communities we belong to. Okay. There's nothing wrong with being part of a particular community. Right. You see, one of the reasons why we're having this challenge here is because he must not recognize what part of the community he's from. He must not. That's why he might want America to be great again. I want to ask, what period is he referring to? Because I know that for black people, America has certainly not been great historically. So what is he referring to?
So that's your question
Yeah,
is.
there's two questions.
There's two questions about police brutality.
That's right.
And about King. When was America great? And how can we make it great again?
Okay, first of all, making America great had nothing to do with black or white. It had to do with actual country, right? It had to do with us being a superpower, us being at one point our money was like European money was surpassing us. When it came to safety, we wasn't number one. When it came to military, we wasn't number one. This is what he was talking about. Economy, this is what he was talking about. He wasn't talking about, and if you want to talk about black people, fine. During the 1920s, when we really had laws that were suppressing us as black people, we were more likely to own businesses. We had Black Wall Street around that time where our money circulated over 23 times before it left the community. But no, stop. Just stop. Like I'm saying, it doesn't matter where it doesn't matter when it ended, because even during that time, blacks was more likely to have a job. Black people family was more intact. We had our parents more 80%. We had more likely to have both fathers in our household. I mean fathers in a mother household. That's the new era that you like. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying to you is, if during that time when we really had oppression, we was able to succeed, why we can't do it now when we don't have those oppressions?
Show us some statistics that
you could talk. We talking about living every day. You see it.
You lived in the 1920s?
But you can look. You're a historian, right? You should know that.
Why don't you?
So was Black Wall Street not existent? Did Black Wall Street? Answer my question. Did it black? What I'm saying during those times when we actually.
What period?
Whatever period, 1920s, during the time when we had Jim Crow and all that.
He is ill-informed, family.
No, but you can't. But just like you're ill-informed, you watch CNN. You know what I'm saying? Like you a CNN watcher. So and you're disdain. Like you brought up the whole thing about his father was part of KKK. That's a lie. That was a Photoshop. That's a lie. You don't know what you're talking about. It was a Photoshop. It's a lie. That's a lie. 97% of the things that was put on Donald Trump and the media is lies. Okay, so prove it. You can't prove it. You brought Central Park 5, who are admitted rapists. Okay?
Admitted rapists?
Did those guys not admit that they were rapists? What they coerced?
As far as
have you not had them?
I'm just doesn't matter. But those same guys. But look. Those same guys. Everybody, because I know everybody watched the Central Park 5 movie. Hold on. I know everybody watched the Central Park 5 movie and think they actually know what the hell happened when that story was fake. Those guys wasn't in the park on some cool shit just harassing people. They was robbing, they was stealing, they was beating people up. These are
what they did.
Yo, bro, these are facts, bro. Did you ever watch the interviews? You ever watch the interviews?
I know them.
Did you ever watch the interviews?
I've spoken to
I don't care what people that listen. At the end of the day, I don't even want to get on men that are free. I don't even want to get into that. They're free men. They serve their time. It is what it is.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying? But if you watch the interviews of those men,
serve their time.
Listen, like I said, if you watch the interviews, which 95% of people don't watch the interviews, you know what I'm saying? For him not, you talking about, he didn't say apologize for them. He doesn't have to apologize for what? What does he apologize? If he still feels like they're guilty for something,
I didn't say he didn't apologize.
Okay,
that's not what I said.
King, what's your question for him?
I said
no. Okay, all right. Let's talk about the police. So let me. So what was the question that he asked me?
About clarify your point about police brutality.
First of all, let me ask you a question. Okay, how many people you know personally that have been shot and killed by police?
I've never
personally. I don't want to talk about the news.
I've never kept a running tally.
Just answer the question.
I would have to say it's probably over 20. Probably 24 or more.
So you know 20 people in your lifetime.
Probably 24 or more.
Personally, friends.
Yeah, people
that were shot by police and killed.
No, you said shot by police.
That you know,
saying and killed.
Shot, killed. But what did they do to get shot? See, that's the narrative we ignore. So they just got shot because they was black, or were they doing something in the process and got shot? That's the question.
Brother, I thought you was in the hood.
No. Stop. Because I got respect and I carry myself respect.
Oh, come on.
So this is reality. Of course you're gonna ignore that. But I'm asking you, how many people you know personally, that's your friends, that's been shot and killed by police?
You're asking about shot and
just answer the question.
Which one are you asking?
Shot, killed, doesn't matter. You can name whatever you want. Whatever you want. Whatever makes you feel better.
There have been probably around 24 people that I am. There's probably been about 24 people that I am aware of that I've had interaction with over the years. I'm sure I'm older than he is, so maybe that's why he's a little surprised.
So you're saying 24?
that have been. Wait, let me finish. I'm answering the question, but maybe you had coffee. That's tea. That's not coffee. Calm down. Calm down. Let's talk.
I drink water. I don't drink.
Let's talk. Well, there's something in that water. So let's calm down. You asked me a question. I'm gonna answer it straight. I'm talking about people who have been shot.
Right.
First, he asked shot. I'm not talking about people who have been killed. I can think of people who have been killed by the police. I can think that perhaps there have been 2 that I knew personally that were killed by the police. That's how. But shot.
Now, I'm gonna ask you another question. How many people you know personally that have been killed by other blacks?
What?
How many people you know personally that have been killed by other blacks? What do you mean, what? How many?
Some of those police were black too.
You could do the trickery of words because you're a scholar and all that. But answer the question. How many people you know? You notice he's ignoring the question. No, it's a valid question. I'm asking you how many people you know how many blacks you know from your hood that got killed by other blacks.
He talking about the black on black crime now.
I have known many people, and that number is much larger than 24 people who have been shot. I'm using the same analysis now, not shot and killed, who have been shot in the hood. Many people. And I would honestly say to you that if you are comparing people who have been shot by people that they live amongst with people who are paid to protect us shooting us, then we have a problem.
Okay.
Like I said, you notice that, of course, this is what college educated people, liberals, this is the type of things that they say, the trickery of words. He didn't answer the question. He made sure he told us 24, but he didn't say the actual number. It's probably over 200-300 that he knows that been killed, right? Bro, you in Harlem. Who gets killed? Who's killing who in Harlem? If you know personally, I guarantee you know. Wait, okay. Even what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is,
do you know 200-300 people?
Listen. I know hundreds of niggas that got killed by police personally that I know. Not by police, by regular other blacks. Even if you go by the news, all you see is blacks killing other blacks all day long.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? In Chicago, it's over thousands of blacks that's getting killed all the time. In our community, thousands of getting killed in our community as well. So against other blacks. So you're trying to tell me a leaky faucet is more important than a fire in your kitchen? Is that what you're telling me? So you're going to focus more on something that rarely happens, is like damn near getting struck by lightning, compared to what's happening every day, all the time in our communities? We got little girls getting shot in their head from straight bullets from niggas that don't got no aim? You're telling me that that's not relevant. But you know what happens? We've been killing each other so long that it became normalized. So now it's like, it's not even a big deal, because this is what's supposed to happen, because this is what a common, just like when you see the military. When a person from the military dies, you know why it's not a big deal? Because it's expected. You're right. People don't make it a big uproar because it's expected. You're in the military. This is what happens, correct? Right. So it's the same concept with black people. Oh, you getting shot by another nigga doesn't mean anything because this is supposed to happen.
So King, you're talking about, we have to reestablish value and respect for ourselves in the context of making ourselves great in this country. Before we start to judge outside elements, you're speaking to holding each other accountable to how
that's the biggest problem in our community, that we don't have accountability. We want to blame everybody else for what's going on in our life instead of actually ourselves. Okay. Because the decision that we decide to make. Even when people say, oh, they brought drugs into the community, well, you had a choice not to sell it. Because when you had the mafia, they didn't allow no drugs being sold in their communities. They wasn't allowing it. You know what I'm saying? Of course you had the outside people that did what they did, but at the end of the day, it's still considered a choice. You have a choice whether you want to get into a lifestyle or not.
So King, do you respond to this? Okay.